Jeff, I've heard from some of your peers, general managers with other teams, that the Astros probably are the purest form of implementation of statistical data. Tell me, in a nutshell, what your philosophy is.
Well, it's pretty simple. We're trying to develop the best young talent in baseball and get the Astros back to where they used to be. They had a stretch there of 6 postseasons in 9 years, and that's what we want to get. We want to win a couple championships, and we know to do that we've got to develop our own players. So how we get our own players, we use a combination of good old-fashioned scouting and whatever information is available to us. And yes, some of that is today's modern statistics.
Now, one of the interesting things you announced the other day, you're going with a tandem system in the minor leagues. Explain that.
Well, one of our goals during the offseason was to build up our pitching depth at AAA so that we had a lot of starters. We made a lot of trades last year. About 12 of the players that came back were starting pitchers at the AA and AAA level, A-ball level. And so we ended up having an abundance of pitchers at all the full season clubs, and realized that rather than make a decision about who the 5 starters should be after 1 month of spring training, let's put 8 of them in the rotation in groups of 2 and let the best ones emerge over time. And I think that's really the philosophy, and hopefully it'll work out.
As it moves along, how are you going to evolve those pitchers to the point where they're throwing 100 pitches in a major league game?
Well, the ones that are performing are actually going to have roughly the same innings as they would in a 5-man rotation. But over time, we actually expect to go back to a 5-man rotation. So later in the season, you know, you want those guys to get some experience going through the lineup for the 3rd time. That always seems to be a challenge for a lot of these young pitchers, and we want to give them that experience. But, you know, for right now, I think for the months of April and May, we're going to go with the tandem system and see how it works.
Since the publishing of the book Moneyball, there's been some resistance in the old school to the implementation of statistics. When you run into that with people that you work with, how do you deal with that?
I think it's a conversation because ultimately we all have the same objective. We want to find the best players and put the best players on the field. And, you know, if you have evidence that a player has performed well in the past, that's usually a good indication he's going to perform well in the future. And, you know, you got to rely on your scouts, no question about it. But I think most clubs are using all the information they have available to them to make the best decisions, and that's all we're doing. And I think once you have the conversation, frankly, about it, everybody gets on the same page.
Now, during this offseason, you didn't spend a lot of money on veteran free agents. A lot of teams in your position, sort of standard operating procedure to hire some journeyman veterans to usher along some of the younger players. Tell me what went into your decision to not go as extensively with that.
Well, actually, we did. I mean, between Carlos Pena and Eric Bedard and some of the other players that we brought in, Rick Ankiel, these are players with a lot of major league experience, and we chose them not only for what they could do on the field, but also how we felt they would mentor our young players. And, you know, when you sign free agents, you've got to play them. And frankly, we wanted to see what Matt Dominguez could do. We wanted to give Jason Castro a chance to play every day, Justin Maxwell a chance to play center field every day. And I think that's really the best strategy for us to get to the point where, you know, we figure out what we have. We know we got exciting players coming. We saw them yesterday here. A lot of the future is not that far away. And, you know, to sign a multi-year contract to a free agent right now and block these players from coming up just doesn't make sense with where we're going.
Tell me about some of the best young players you're talking about.
Well, you know, it starts with Carlos Correa, our first-round pick from last year. He's just really an advanced young man, and he's got a chance to be in the big leagues, you know, before he's 21 years old and be a regular, everyday star type of player. Jonathan Singleton, Mike Foltynewicz was up here yesterday throwing in the high 90s. I mean, you know, the list goes on. We have a very deep system right now, and I think it's going to provide players for us for a long time. And that's really when I want to get to the point where, you know, we constantly have good players coming up and getting ready to play in the big leagues.